Ana is back, everybody. Well, not really, not on OG. However, he recently played for TNC, and the cool thing about this is we're going to be able to follow Ana's Slark gameplay, a game where he absolutely dominated, even coming out of a bad laning stage. And if there's anything you know about Ana, is that he's a god carry player when it comes to having a bad lane and being able to recover. I mean, just look back to TI8, like that's just the story of TI8. And so yeah, if you're excited for this Slark gameplay, especially Ana's Slark gameplay, like and subscribe to help our channel grow. And yeah, let's get into it and learn from it. So recently, I know this is gonna sound crazy, guys, but I played a position 4 roaming pudge game. I did end the game with an Aether Lens, however, there was a good reason for it. One, I didn't rush it, okay? But over on the main gameleap website, I reviewed the full game. It was like over a 30-minute VOD analysis or something like that. So if you wanna see me play position 4 pudge and actually show you how to make it work, even though I fed a little bit, I made it work. Go click the link down below. I'm really ecstatic to show you guys that video. So yeah, go check it out. Alright, so the first thing I want to take a look at is his starting item build. Well, not the actual starting item build, but the early game items he's purchasing. Now, there's one thing you might notice here. He doesn't have a quelling blade. And I think this is notable, and I've actually been seeing quite a few players doing this now if they want to win their laning stage. So Slark is a hero that naturally, the later the lane goes on, gets better and better against Underlord in your typical Slark versus Underlord matchup. And because of that, he rushes 2 Wraith Bands, which is actually going to give him the potential advantage he needs to win this laning matchup. Now, this is something I'd be a little bit concerned about if you don't feel comfortable with last hitting, only because it's quite a big grief if you aren't good at last hitting and don't have a quelling blade, especially if you're used to it, so just keep that in mind. However, if you feel like you're comfortable enough in the game to try this out, it is an option. And now, because of it, right, because he doesn't have this quelling blade, he's actually able to get an earlier boots and a Gloves of Haste and actually secure the kill onto the Underlord. On top of that, guys, if you're playing Slark and you're in a winning matchup, make sure you take 2 points of the E, but really no more than that. Once you start taking 4 points or even just 3 points in the E, you have nothing in the Q, you can't farm, and your game becomes kind of a mess if you fall even slightly behind, or if you can't find anyone to hit. Now get into the part of the game where I want to be very clear about how Ana sees his role in this match. So this is a very, very good Slark game. What's the reason for that? The enemy team doesn't have any long-lasting stuns or even any instant disables. Every single one of their disables can be read, right? It can be seen coming. And because of that, he just wants to get tanky, get his items, and then look to start fights. And this is kind of how you guys want to be approaching your pubs as well. Think about, okay, how good is my hero? What is my timing? And when do I come online, right? In this match, he could go fight right now. However, the immense amount of magical damage coming out from the Ember Spirit, the Underlord, and the Mirana would make it difficult to fight. And because of that, I like his general decision here just to continue to just push in the bottom wave. This is the safest play in Dota to make as a safe laner, which is basically just stay in your lane if the enemy team is fighting on the opposite side of the map and get farm. On top of that, guys, please buy Magic Wand. If you're playing Slark and you plan on fighting at any point in the match, which obviously you're going to, buy a wand. Your hero does have mana problems, like quite significant ones at time, especially while team fighting, so just keep that in mind. Now you're going to see the typical safe lane flash farm momentum, where he goes from the wave, to the camp, to the next camp, and then generally back to the wave. On top of that, I'm just going to show you guys a little tip here. This is something that's been known within the Dota scene probably since this is like one of the earliest ways you could show your dominance as a player. But if you don't remember, or you don't even know what this is, basically he's going to tread swap as Slark and actually stay on strength treads while, you know, the Q does damage to him. So quickly, you're going to see he switches to the Int, clicks his Q while in the Int, like literally at the same time while he's swapping, and then magically, he manages to farm it while on strength. Now, I want to discuss some of the thought process of Ana, just as a player overall. So, right now, what do we see on the map? We see Ember Spirit, we saw a Cuddle, and we see an Underlord. We also got a slight glimpse of Mirana, but I'm not sure if that was a minimap bug because of the replay system or not. Regardless, he's running up to the Sven here, and the only thing he has to worry about is getting chain stun if he's going to die. Other than that, this is the best opportunity for Slark in Dota. This is the exact situation you should be looking for in every single game. Whether or not you have to use a TP to do this or not, it's a great thing to do, and what that is look for a 1v1, because Slark excels in 1v1s. Why is that? Because you walk up, you Dark Pact, you steal some stacks, and you back off. Now in this case, obviously the Sven backed off because he was afraid of losing too many stacks, but as you can see, that's one of the best things to do because most heroes cannot trade with you, and if they do, they lose all their stats. On top of this, he's even going to make a quick little efficiency play here where he drags the wave over to the hard camp, letting the wave push under to the bottom tower, which could actually make the enemy team miss some CS, and using the Dark Pact to its full effect. Moving on from there, I just want to mention that the enemy team took over his side of the map, and because of that, he rotated towards mid. Whenever this happens in Dota, guys, basically where you get kicked out of your lane, but you still feel like you need to farm, where you should be generally looking for farm is the mid lane. This is going to be your highest impact play, because you're pretty hard to gank when you're in the mid lane, as it's very easy to retreat to your tier 1 tower, and overall, your mid laner will probably be making moves around the map, assuming they aren't some hard carry like a Dusa or an Alk, and you'll be able to take the mid farm quite easily. Alright, now moving on, let's get into some engagements, because I know that's what you guys are here for, Ana's attention to detail and engagements. I've talked about him before in the past, and his ability to not panic and pick targets is close to flawless, and we're going to see that here. So he has this Diffusal Blade, which basically means if he finds someone isolated, he's going to go on them. That's basically what you do with Diffusal on any hero. You find someone isolated, you burn their mana, and you make them generally useless. Now first things first, he actually gets vision of the Sven, is very lucky to find this Van Brace right before the fight starts, and he immediately goes on the Sven. Well, what does he know? Sven has no BKB, and because of this, if he burns Sven's mana, the Sven will get kited. That's generally how Sven works as a hero. He needs his ultimate, stun, and other abilities to not get kited. Now in this case, the Sven gets his ulti off, but because he knows, right, Ana understands that the enemy team does not have Slark counters, he can play aggressive. If they per se had, let's say, maybe a Leshrac, or even a Lion to finger him in the early game, he would have to be a lot more careful. However, they don't, so what he does, he gets a couple of more hits off, 3 stacks in total, and then he's able to disengage until his ultimate comes up. And then using the ultimate duration, because once again, they don't have a Slark counter besides the potential Ember Spirit, who's getting completely zoned out, which I'm sure Ana is seeing, because high MMR players, pros especially, stare at the minimap in team fights. Like, they literally check it over and over again. And because of that, he's able to pounce forward, get the Diffusal onto the Sven, which is the high priority kill, allowing the Centaur to get in range for the W, and a perfectly executed fight by Ana. So essentially what you need to understand there is that he identified who is a threat to me, and once the Ember Spirit gets zoned out, he pops his Q, and when the Q is ending, he goes for the pounce, right? So he kind of splits up his disable. That's very important to note. He does not pop the Q, the pounce, and the ulti at the same exact time. He Qs, the Q ends, he tries to pounce away, he didn't really make it too far because he got cancelled by the Underlord, and then, as that ends, he pops his ultimate. On top of that, the last thing I'm going to mention about that fight is that he used the Diffusal instead of the pounce to close the gap, which allows him to save pounce as a defensive option, which is a huge deal for Slark. That's why Diffusal is so important on this hero. Moving on, we probably have the first really cool decision by Ana, because guys, I'm not gonna lie, there is no way I would do this. If I was in his position here, there's no way. I would be way too afraid to make the play that he has. But what we're gonna notice is that he knows his Centaur is just about to get a Blink Dagger off Courier, right? They're communicating this. He's also paying attention to everyone's items. And because of that, he gets a Diffusal onto the Ember, his ultimate is almost off cooldown, so he commits to pounce. Now what does this do? Because he's not gonna kill the Ember, right? There's no way he kills the Ember. Why would he do this? Once again, he knows he can't get bursted, so a couple of things are gonna happen here. He's gonna burn them out of the Ember, he's not going to die because he has his Q, and he has his ultimate, and he's not gonna use them at the same time because he's a good Slark player, and he's going to bait for his Centaur. Whenever you go on someone in Dota, you naturally create good stun scenarios for your Blink initiators because people clump up to help each other, and that's what we're gonna see here. He goes in, gets on top of the Ember Spirit, right? Gets gone on a little bit, doesn't panic, right? He knows he's not going to get bursted. He's keeping track of their spells, and because he's a god tier player, he basically knows the exact amount of damage they're going to deal, not in terms of numbers, but in terms of feel. And then, as a result of him doing this, they commit, 2-man Centaur stun, almost a 3-man Centaur stun, and a double kill ensues. And the really cool thing about this gameplay is that he never panics. As you can see, didn't pop his wand, didn't pop his ultimate because he didn't have to. He didn't have to. And that might sound crazy, and it's like, Speed, how do I learn this? Guys, you gotta play a lot of Dota and be a very critical thinker to make this happen, but it's possible. Moving on here, we have a very fascinating play, a scary play, I would say, because he's able to react to the fact that the Mirana was respawning. So he's paying attention to respawns, and whenever you're pushing a tower into the early game, like basically pre-25, 30 minutes, or if they just happen to be respawning soon, you should be paying attention to that. So in this case, right, he's hitting the tower, he knows that the Mirana just respawned, he assumes she's gonna TP in, and because of that, right, and because he knows TPs can come from here, right, that's just knowledge that these top players have. They know that some people can TP here. He preemptively Qs, and as he gets hit by the arrow, it actually gets purged. And yeah, he stays alive. He also purchased the ultimate of the coddle, right? And he's able to pounce out. And yeah, things like that are really just what separate players like Ana from the rest of us. Moving on into this team fight, he continues to see himself as the frontlining hero. On top of that, he has a Chen, meaning that his sustain is off the charts. With the mech and with the Hand of God, he can play a lot more aggressive than he's probably used to. And that's why he goes on the Ember here. It's the same idea as before. He's just trying to get people to clump up, help each other, and they're also kiting out the God Strength now, which is basically a guaranteed one fight once the God Strength ends. And this is the way you choke people out in Dota. Now, this isn't necessarily going to happen in a lot of your pubs, where your team is willing to basically play this slow-paced Dota where you're chipping and not diving. Notice how they're not going past the tier 2 tower. At least they did earlier, but it was very, very coordinated. It was for a specific reason. Specific spells were committed. Heroes were dead. But it is not a 5v5 where you're just diving past the tower. Now here, why did they go in, right? Why did Armel jump the Ember Spirit and why is Ana following up? Well, the Sven has no God Strength and Sven is top, meaning you have a proper numbers advantage. And also on top of this, you're gonna see, this is really hard to teach. Frankly, what you're about to see here is almost impossible to teach. I'm gonna show it to you guys so you can see what I'm saying, but he doesn't commit pounce here. Now that's crazy, right? Because pounce is a great counter to Ember Spirit, right? It's a great counter to Ember. Now why doesn't he commit to pounce? Well, first off, the Ember is getting controlled by the Rubik Pit of Malice that was stolen. And on top of that, he's getting controlled by the Ember Q right now. Also, he knows and he's communicating with the Centaur that the Centaur is going to stun. So he saves his pounce. Most Slarks would have instantly pounced there, right? I guarantee it, 90% of Slarks, I would even say 99%, would have pounced the Ember. And then because of that, they wouldn't have the capability to actually chase here, then defusal the Underlord, once again didn't waste the defusal on the Ember, and secure another kill. And now because of this, they're actually able to take the tier 3 tower 19 minutes into the game. Pretty crazy stuff, and this is the first time he's actually going to back off. They were really playing the OG playstyle here, very, very smart. And I kind of liked how TNC generally meshed with Ana within this game. I don't think they won the series. I believe they lost 1-2. However, in this game, they showed some dominance, some OG style gameplay. Now, one more time, I want you guys to see how to use pounce, because whenever I'm doing against the rank and I watch a Slark, they just ruin pounce. They never use it correctly. As you're going to see here, he gets in, the Ember is controlled, so he does not pounce early, right? He's only right-clicking because you right-click until you know that you have to commit pounce to actually get more auto attacks in. Otherwise, you actually leave yourself open to dying. That's how high MMR games work as Slark. If you commit pounce early, everyone's like, Slark committed pounce, kill him. I'm serious, this is the type of thing that people will be noticing. Even if they don't say it out loud, they literally pick up on those type of things and you'll die because of it. On top of it, it really just allows him to get more auto attacks, which is what I was saying. And moving on top of this, he's always pushing in waves. Do you guys notice that? If you're watching this replay, which I recommend you do if you want to learn Slark, he's always pushing in waves. Wave after wave after wave. He's jungling from time to time, right here and there if he has nothing better to do or his team doesn't have any target to go on. But for the most part, it is wave, connect, wave, connect. And often, I'll hear you guys complain to me. You're like, Speed, you tell me to split push, and then my team gets mad at me. Dude, the reason why is because you stay in the same lane for 10 minutes straight out of the laning stage. And now there's an over-exaggeration. It's probably more like 2 waves or 3 waves. But what you want to do, if you want to fight and farm at the same time, is you kill 1 wave, which gives you 200, 300 gold, and then you go to the fight. If the fight doesn't work out, back to the wave. And that's kind of how you do it. That's how you keep people happy and play active, right? Because you can see he has 158 CS in 21 minutes. And he's been extremely active. Next up, I want to talk about a very key concept, a high MMR concept that low MMR players almost never use. Actually, basically never. Really. I'm serious about that. And what we're going to see here is that after he's killing this ancient camp, he sees this wave coming in, right? On top of that, what else does he see? He sees Mirana cutting bottom, right? And because of this, what's going to happen? Bottom's going to become an issue for them. Now, not a major issue because there's a tier 2 tower and there's no proper split push hero on a droid. However, how do you deal with split push in Dota? Do you run back and you run at the Mirana? The answer is actually no. That's what most people do, and you might have actually known the answer was no to that, because a lot of you watch 1,000 videos, but really what you're supposed to do whenever you want to deal with split push is you actually cut the wave. He pounces over to the secret shop to pick up his ultimate orb, and then cuts the creep wave. On top of that, he's always paying attention to other things going on around the map so he can understand what's happening. And yeah, that's how you deal with split pushing, because now the Mirana is not going to be able to push nearly as far as she would want to, or even be able to continue to pressure the tower. And he generally continues to do this. Right now, because he cut the wave earlier, it's going to meet here instead of here, right? Look at the minimap, guys. The wave, if he didn't cut it, would have met like here, right? Much, much further back. If the Mirana obviously continued to cut it. It depends on what the Mirana would do. But assuming she would continue to cut it if he didn't deal with it, then it would be much further back and it would make him far away from potentially fighting, right? It would take him a much longer time to connect with his team, while cutting the waves and killing waves that are much further up prevents you and prevents your team from getting picked off while you're trying to deal with split push creep waves. Unfortunately, his team gets picked off in the mid lane, but that is no worries because they both actually have buybacks and the Void Spirit has an Aegis. So what does he do? He goes in, commits his Q, right? This is the Ana Slark. And this is all Slarks really in high MMR games, but I want to make sure you see it. Leads with the Q, hits as much as he can until he knows he has to commit the pounce, sees the Ember Spirit on the side, realizes that's a much bigger priority kill, pounces over to him to secure it, and goes back to the Underlord. Very good target priority, and you can tell he doesn't tunnel vision on the first person he hits like most carry players do. Now let's take a look at another fight. So he's getting recalled by his Chen. This probably won't happen in your pubs, guys. You're not going to get recalled by Chen, let's be real. However, if you have a Chen, it's something you should be communicating, especially if you're playing party queue. Now, he's going in, only committed pounce there because he wanted to get into the fight. I think he feels very strong here, and I'm going to show it one more time. So, as I said, generally he wasn't committing pounce because that limits his options and forces him to overcommit. But now, in this case, right, they kill off the Kato ulti, and he pounces in because he didn't have his Q up, and he wanted to get towards the backline to try to kill the Underlord. And that's what he does. He tries to kill the low HP hero, right? Unfortunately, the enemy team was getting away, and he continues to chase, burning out the mana of the Ember Spirit. A great force F from the Mirana, unfortunately, doesn't allow him to get the kill. But you can see, that's the only time he'll commit the pounce, when he's 100% guaranteed to not overcommit and needs to find a target that is a lot squishier or low on HP. And really, if you guys watch this with me, just like what he's been doing the last 3 minutes while they're trying to end the game, you notice how they don't just run high ground? If you don't have Aegis, and even if you do have Aegis, if the enemy team has god tier tower defense, like they do on a droid, with the Underlord, with the Coddle, even with Ember, right, Mirana arrows, don't just run it up high ground. Choke the enemy team out. Farm their side of the map. The best place to farm when you want to end the game is not their high ground, it's this camp, the wave here, this camp, this camp, this wave, right? And you're always trying to shove it into them and choke them out. That's the best thing to do in the early game when you're trying to end, like pre-20 minutes. Pre-30 minutes, you can look to try to go high ground because you're going to have a lot more items to enable that. So will they though, so you kind of want to wait so you can take a fight outside of your base if possible. Have a little bit of patience. In pubs, people will leave their base if you wait. And that's kind of what we see here, right? Finally, the enemy team leaves the base. Because of it, he's able to get a bash onto the Sven. Almost secure a kill. Great play by the Sven Natsumi to stun away. Fortunately, they are on the prowl, not letting them get away. Building a ton of stacks here. And now, even though they didn't immediately get a ton of kills, he has 20 essence stacks. Once again, baiting for the Centaur stun, allowing KPI to get a 2-man stun there. And great usage of the ulti. He understood that his Q was not up, and the pounce wouldn't save him. And as a result, he pops the ulti, turns around, using the 20 stacks that he had to secure the kills, and it's GG. And that's the power of Slark, and kind of how you need to fight with him. I see a lot of players who mess up these spells, and they don't play like Ana, where they panic. They're very panicky, and they also buy like Shadow Blade. And then you can't play Slark like this. You can't bait, you can't frontline, and you can't take advantage of a proper Slark game like Ana did here. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this replay analysis of Ana, please like and subscribe to help our channel grow. I think there's a lot of good tips and tricks in here if you're looking to play more like Ana or just play Slark in general. But hopefully I'll see you in the next one, and peace, brothers. Are you tired of being hard stuck at your rank? Over at gameleap.com, we have a library of hundreds of guides authored by pro players and coaches covering literally every aspect of Dota. Whether you're looking to master a new hero or role, or just polish up your existing skills, GameLeap is the proven place for competitive gamers to hone their craft and unlock their secret potential. Hit the link on screen right now, to take advantage of our special offer for a 25% discount, guys, 25%, and start your journey today.